Yo, what up, guys? It's your boy Chris Lethal here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're breaking down UFC Baku. This is what, 13 fight card, I believe. It's a pretty good card. A lot of competitive fights, but some of the fighters on this card are just absolute fucking dog shit. Like, most of the debuting fighters are complete shit. Like, they're just there to die, pretty much, in this cage. But I mean, they could win. The only underdog, I'm picking a lot of underdogs on this card, mainly on the main card, but there are a few on the prelims. But don't take this as betting advice because, Jesus, I'm always wrong at this point. Starting with the first fight of the evening, Jefferson Nascimento versus Tahir Abdullakayev. He's a Dagestani fighter. Both of these guys are pretty shit. Nascimento is a really good striker. His defensive wrestling and his offensive wrestling is pretty low level. He doesn't have the worst, get up game, but he does get stuck on bottom a lot. He also does a bunch of trips and throws that always put him on bottom. Very counterintuitive. And Tahir is just beating up absolute bums. Genuinely 0-5 fighters. And he'd been put out multiple times, straight flash knockout. The first fight I watched of his was an amateur fight where he got head kick KO'd, flatline KO'd. And I'm going Jefferson Nascimento here. The only thing that concerns me is that obviously the wrestling of Tahir is really good. He does have pretty high level wrestling. But I don't think his gas tank is there, and I don't think Jefferson Nascimento is an easy get out of the fight first round type fighter. I think he'll extend this fight, and I think he'll be able to beat up Tahir on the feet. But Nascimento did fight 13 days ago and receive a brutal cut on the eye from ground and pound shots, and he got knocked down. He did win that fight by body shot, but he got hurt really badly in that fight. So that could still be lingering. I don't know how he got medically cleared to do this fight 13 days later, but he won. But his striking is slick. He has really clean combinations. He has really good footwork. He cycles really well. He has good body work. And he can carry a pace for 15. He's had 5-round fights. And I think Tahir is overextending. Tahir is very inaccurate. Very low volume and very inaccurate. And I think he has a lot of pop in his punch, but he rarely lands that big shot. And with the movement of Nascimento, I just can't see him catching Nascimento and putting him down. So I don't think this fight ends early. This might go to decision, honestly. I'd pick the over 1.5. I think that's the line. Tahir could get him down. This is a very competitive fight. That's why the odds are almost dead even. But I think Nascimento has much more weapons than Tahir. I think Tahir pretty much only has his wrestling. And I think Nascimento has really clean kicks on every level. Good leg kicks, good body kicks. And he has really good boxing. I think Nascimento wins this one by decision. Moving on to Besmak Almakhan versus Jean Matsumoto. What a shame that Jean Matsumoto's career has been so far. He got absolutely robbed by Fareed Basharat. He got robbed by Rob Font. Had a close fight with Miles John. He has a very competitive fight in every single one of his losses. And I think he wins here. I'm seeing a lot of people pick Almakhan, and I get it. The pressure boxing of Almakhan, the cardio, the wrestling, the pace, the pressure, all are very good aspects, but Almakhan takes a lot of damage, and the speed of Almakhan is really going to give Jean Matsumoto problems here. But I think Jean just has more power. I think he has better kicks. I think he'll be able to mix in the wrestling. I think on the outside, I think Jean will land the better punches. I think he'll pretty much... he has pretty much of an iron chin. He's not going to get knocked down. And I think Almakhan could get knocked down. I don't think Almakhan has the best chin. He got chinned by Tapore. He got hurt in a lot of his fights. He does have power, but Gene, again, I don't think he's going to get knocked out. I don't know. I honestly, breakdown isn't going to be too good on this fight because I think Bezmak is better. But I just think Gene Matsumoto is going to win, you know? I think the power shots and the more significant punches are going to go to Gene. So I'm going to pick Gene Matsumoto to win by decision. Moving on to Daniil Janchakov versus Theodore Bregrin. Absolute can. I mean, this is a sacrifice. Daniil Janchakov is going to destroy Theodore in the first round. Theodore has been flatlined in multiple of his fights. He has a stark wrestling disadvantage. And I think he's pretty fast on the feet. He has decent boxing, but I think Daniil just has so many more weapons. I think the Muay Thai and the slashing elbows and the flying knees, I think it's all going to be too much for him. I think the pace that Daniil's going to put on him in the first round is going to break Theodore. We have seen him wilt under pressure. He's not very composed. And I think Daniil just runs through Theodore. I think he gets a first round knockout probably by like clinch elbow or like off the break elbow. The body kicks are going to give him trouble. The boxing's really going to give him trouble. Everything in this fight is against Theodore. And I don't think Theodore has the wrestling to take down Daniil. So I think Daniil by first round KO. 3 fights in under 7 minutes? That has to be a new record. But the first 3 fights are, well, Gene Matsumoto, I couldn't really break down, but whatever. Moving on to Con Offley versus Javier Reyes. Both of these fighters are pretty mediocre, but Con Offley has shown pretty much nothing. Like, he absolutely robbed Yinza. I have no idea. Genuinely baffles me how he won that fight. Don't know how in any way he won that fight. I don't even know how he survived getting knocked down like 15 times in that fight. But, talking about knockdowns, Reyes just got brutally knocked down by Douglas D'Andrade. But he survived, and then he chinned Douglas later in the first round. He doesn't have the most power in the world. He is accurate. He has pretty good kicks, but he doesn't throw them very often. He has high-level jiu-jitsu. He has pretty good boxing. He's very well-rounded. He has good counter-striking, but he's much better on the front foot than on the back foot. I just don't see how Offley's going to win this fight. Offley's pretty shit in my opinion. Yes, Offley has some defensive jiu-jitsu. His takedown defense is pretty shit, but he's unlikely to get submitted on the ground. But he's very open on the feet. He gets hit a lot. He doesn't have the best chin. So I think Reyes could chin him and probably knock him out cold. But I don't see that happening. I think Reyes is going to fight a smart fight. I think he's going to keep him at distance. I think the teeps are going to be a big problem for Offley. I think the body kicks are going to be. And I think the range of Reyes is going to be a lot more than Offley is prepared for. But one really big negative of Reyes' game is that Reyes backs up with his chin so high in the air. That's why he got clipped by Douglas D'Andrade, because his chin was super high in the air and an overhand landed clean. Offley could do that because Offley does have some pop in his punches, but I don't. And they're similar sizes, Douglas D'Andrade and Offley. They're similar fighters, but Andrade is really high level, where he was at one point. And I think that win is better than any win that Offley has. So I think Reyes is going to win this. I don't know how. I'd go to KO or decision. But I think he's going to win. I just think Offley's shit and he should get cut from the UFC. After what he did, after what he robbed Yinza of, I think he shouldn't be in the UFC. But, it's MMA, so it could go either way. But I think Reyes is more proven. Because Offley's what? 2-2 in his 4 fights in the UFC? He lost to Elijah Smith, or he lost to Jacoby Smith, one of them. He beat one dude by, backpack submission, or backpack rear naked choke. He got KO'd in one fight, I believe. I think he's 2-2, I believe. Anyways, I'm going Reyes by decision. Nurisultan Ruziboyev versus Andrei Pulyaev. Nurisultan's gonna win. I think Nurisultan has way too many weapons for Pulyaev. I think the performance against Atiba Gutierrez is way too overblown. He literally ran for 15 minutes. And I believe he got knocked down in that fight too. He has a good chin, like he's not gonna get chinned. But we also gotta remember this is the same dude that was getting fucked up by Nick Klein in the first round. I don't remember anyone talking about it, but Nick Klein fucked this dude up in the first round. Hurt him, I believe, and almost submitted him. Nurisultan Ruziboyev, who has he really lost to in the UFC? Joaquin Buckley, who's penultimate top 10 fighter. That's about it. That's all I can really remember. He chinned Bruno Ferreira. He beat Eric Mecanico. He beat Dustin Stoltz first, who's obviously not that high level. But Ruziboyev is a really high level kickboxer. He has really good kicks. He has really good boxing. He has power. And he has wrestling to fall back on. He has good grappling, good control, has a submission game. And I think Pulyaev is just going to do the same thing he did against Gutierrez, where he's just retreating for the entire fight. He's not throwing high volume. He's picking his shots very selectively. He throws like 5 strikes a fucking round. He fights to survive. He doesn't fight to win. That's kind of the way I describe his style. He doesn't impose himself on the opponent. And I think Ruziboyev will. And I think the pressure Ruziboyev's going to give, I think he's going to land the better shots. I think the kicking of Ruziboyev is going to probably limit the punch, the footwork of Pulyaev. And I could see this getting to the ground. I think Ruziboyev could get a TKO. But I think the smart money is on decision for Ruziboyev. I just don't rate Pulyaev. Like, I think he would have gotten cut from the UFC if he had lost to Atiba by KO. I just don't rate him. So I'm going to go Ruziboyev by KO. Moving on to Abdul Rahman Yakayev versus Julius Walker. Guys, Yakayev's going to knock him out in the first round. Julius Walker's striking defense is some of the worst I've ever seen in the UFC. He has a horrible chin. He got chinned by fucking Dustin Jacoby, who's a point fighter. He got like jelly-legged by every fighter he went to decision against Cicada, whatever his name is, Rafael Cicada, who's literally dog shit. So I mean, Julius Walker is a really high-level wrestler, but he's yet to really show him being able to dominate someone in wrestling. His striking is horrendous. He has his size makes him better than he is. Like, his technique is horrendous. He has good straight punches. He's just gonna back up and get clipped. Like, I think Yakayev is a top 5 light heavyweight right now. Yeah, so I think Yakayev finishes this whatever way he wants to. I think he could get a KO. I think he could get a submission. I think a submission off of a Julius Walker panic takedown is very live. But if I had to put money on it, I would go Yakayev walks down Julius Walker and just finds a big right hand, puts down Julius Walker, and finishes him up with follow-up shots. If I was betting, that would be my prediction. Farman Hassanov versus Eric Nolan. Both absolute cans, but I was wrong earlier. I said that I saw the Abdul Yakayev guy get KO'd by a head kick in one of the first fights I watched of him. I was wrong. That's actually Hassanov. I made that mistake, so I apologize. Hassanov is a horrible striker. Like, he's really bad. He overextends, he overcommits, he's very inaccurate, pretty low volume, kind of just constantly walks forwards, wades into distance, and just stands there. He kind of wins, like, the battle of, like, pressure, but other than that, nothing. Like, he rarely lands a clean right hand. His bread and butter is takedowns control, submissions, ground and pound. He does have some pretty violent ground and pound. He's 5-0, and the people he's gone against is absolute cans. While Eric Nolan is 8-3, I think, and he is currently 0-1 in the UFC. He fought Bysangor Susakayev and took the first round. He won the first round, and then he completely gassed out in the second, and he got submitted. I think that's a very winnable fight for Eric Nolan if it wasn't on short notice, because Eric Nolan came in on, 5 days' notice on that fight? His striking looks clean. He's very accurate. He has a really good chin. He doesn't give up. Constantly walks forwards, lands big punches, has power in his hands, clean combinations, and he's really good in the pocket. He has a good chin. He's not going to get knocked out cold. His grappling defense is kind of a, gray area, because Susakayev was picking him up and dumping him, I think back-to-back 4 times. So that's kind of a concern here, because he was just getting absolutely dumped, but he kept getting up. That's where I think he can win this fight. He was getting up constantly. He was never getting put on his back. He kept getting up. He kept building up correctly. And something Hasanov does well is collects the legs on the cage. He makes sure it's hard to stack up and build up. But I think Eric Nolan striking is the main discrepancy in this fight, because Susakayev would have knocked out Hasanov in the first round. Eric Nolan nearly knocked out Bysangor in the first round. He had him on chicken legs, and he was wobbling. And I just think Eric Nolan's a lot more proven. He's a cage, not a cage fury, I think it is. A cage fury champion. Hasanov has fought in some of the most, backwood, shitty organizations you'll ever see. You don't know anyone who has ever fought in any of these. It's very bad. And yeah. So, I'm going to go Eric Nolan by KO. Moving on to the first fight of the main card. Abus Magomedov versus Mikhail Olenjacek. This is a competitive fight, but I'm seeing a lot of people overvalue Mikhail Olenjacek's progression. People are saying he's like a marauder now. He beat GM3 and he beat Marc-Andre Barriot by a close decision that arguably could have gone the other way. And yes, Abus Magomedov has horrendous cardio. But you know what Mikhail Olenjacek has? Horrendous wrestling and terrible submission defense. 6 of his 8 losses are by submission. I think Abus Magomedov submits him. That's what I think happens. Abus Magomedov has only lost to who? I mean, he was beating Joe Pyfer in his most recent fight. He won the first round pretty dominantly. And then, yes, he gassed out. But I think he finishes Mikhail Olenjacek in the first round. I think on the feet, people are really underestimating Abus Magomedov. I think Abus Magomedov is the much more technical striker. I think he has a lot more weapons on the feet. And he has that wrestling threat. Yes, Olenjacek has a lot more power. He has a lot more finishing upside on the feet. But I don't think Mikhail Olenjacek is going to find the knockout. I think Abus Magomedov is going to dominate that first round and either finish him in the second or finish him in the first via submission. Mikhail has such low wrestling IQ that he puts himself in such bad positions and he gives up positions where he'll find a submission easily. And I think Abus Magomedov finishes this one by decision. And I don't remember Abus Magomedov really having a bad chin. And Mikhail also doesn't have, fucking Alex Pereira power. He has a normal amount of power. And he doesn't really have good ground and pound. I mean, he knocked down Kevin Holland and then kind of threw himself into an armbar. So, that doesn't speak too good of him. I mean, he did knock down someone that's, very hard, one of the best chins in the UFC. But I think Abus wins this one. I think Abus is the much more technical fighter. I think he can keep Mikel at range with his kicks and his lengthy jab. And then if he wants to wrestle, I think he can wrestle. And I think he will wrestle. Moving on to Bruno Ferreira versus Ikram Aliskerov. Ikram is a much better grappler. He can... The jiu-jitsu is competitive. That is because Bruno, very comfortable on the ground, great jiu-jitsu, has a bunch of submission wins. But on the feet, Ikram, much better kicker, much more weapons in the boxing variety. He can keep Bruno at range. The combinations of Aliskerov is beautiful. The body work, the distance management, everything is great with Ikram. And I'm going to pick Bruno Ferreira to knock him out in the first round. Bruno Ferreira is going to win this fight. If you're getting chinned by Robert Whittaker, you're not beating Aliskerov. Bruno Ferreira is the better fighter. Is not the better fighter, I mean. He's worse in almost every article of this fucking fight. But that chin, if Bruno Ferreira lands one clean punch on Aliskerov, I think he knocks out Aliskerov. And that's why I'm picking Bruno Ferreira to chin Aliskerov. Because I think Bruno Ferreira, he has a good enough chin, and I don't think Ikram has enough power to be able to earn Bruno's respect. I think Bruno will maraud in, constant pressure, get him up against the cage, and throw those massive hooks that he loves to throw. And I think he chins Ikram in the first round. I think the overwhelming power of Ferreira is going to be too much for Ikram to handle. And both of Ikram's losses are by KO in the first round. So, I think we get another one. I think people are underrating Bruno. He's like a plus 230 in this fight. I don't know. I don't see that Jung Park, I don't see the Iron Turtle win as that impressive. He, eked out a win against an old man. I think Bruno Ferreira wins this one. So that's my, third underdog of this card? No, second. Actually, I think Nascimento is now an underdog, so that's my fourth underdog. Plus Abus is being an underdog, too. So now I'm picking 5 underdogs. Don't worry, it'll end up being 7. I think Charles Johnson versus Asu Almabayev is a much more competitive fight than people are giving it credit for. Again, Charles Johnson is like a plus 200 against Asir Almabayev. Almabayev is shit, bro. I don't respect him. I don't think he's good. I watched him run away from Manel Cap for fucking 15 minutes and then get KO'd. I watched him get absolutely fucked up on the feet by Alex Perez and find a Hail Mary submission. I think Charles Johnson will be able to keep Almabayev at range. I think he will be able to jab him up. I think Almabayev will quit. I think, yes, Charles Johnson has had problems with getting chain wrestled and held down in his previous fights. And Almabayev is one of the best wrestlers in the flyweight division. You got to give him credit for that. But I think the range and size of Charles Johnson is really going to give Almabayev problems. And the fact that Almabayev is no threat on the feet will really increase the confidence of Johnson. And I think we could see a Charles Johnson KO in this fight. But more likely, I think he just stays at range, jabs, leg kicks, and Almabayev struggles to get in. And I think we see in the first round Johnson stuff a couple takedowns. That kind of dampens the confidence for Almabayev. And I think moving on and on and on, I think we see a less confident Almabayev and a increase in confidence in Charles Johnson. And I think that bodes well for Charles Johnson. I think he knocks out Almabayev or he goes to decision. I just don't think Almabayev is the highest level of the division. His best win is against Alex Perez, who again just escaped the fight against Sumadarji because he got kicked in the nuts and faked being that badly injured. I'm going to go Charles Johnson. Nazim Sadikov versus Mateusz Camilo. Camilo is a good striker. Uh, Pretty good kicks, pretty good boxing. He's fairly fast on the feet. Horrible cardio. Slows down massively in the second and third. Horrible wrestling. And overall, I think Nazim Sadikov wins this one really easily. I'm not going to think too far into the Fiziev Faraz Ziam fight. I think Ziam is still a top 15 talent. I think he had an off night against Tom Nolan. And I think that Ziam fight is going to age well for Sadikov. I think Sadikov is one of the best strikers in the division. I think he's one of the most entertaining fighters in the division. He's great, and I think the volume, I think the pressure is going to be too much for Camilo to handle, and I think he will wilt in the second, and I think we see a Sadikov finish in the second. There's not much to break down in these the next fight either, and this one, because the odds are like minus 300, and there's a reason for that. I think Sadikov finishes Camilo. Camilo got beat up and submitted by Gabe Green. So let's not think too deeply into this one. Nazim Sadikov wins by finish. Moving on to Shara Magomedov. Is it the lion or the tiger? Whatever. He's one-eyed. He's very cool. Versus Mikel Pereira. This fight was a dream fight of mine 2 years ago. If this fight was made when Shara came into the UFC, obviously, and when Mikel came into the UFC, this would be fight of the night, 100%, and the odds would be split. But Shara Magomedov is a minus 400 favorite, and for good reason. Anthony Hernandez took the soul of Pereira. Pereira has no cardio. He doesn't show that he has any power anymore, even though his biggest attribute in his first 8 fights in the UFC was finishing people within the first minute of the fight. He won on a 3-fight under a minute streak. Pereira is live for a takedown and submission, but Shara has shown that he's decent enough to survive it. He's decent enough to survive a finish. Or survive getting takedowned. He gets back up. He's way too tricky on the feet, and his cardio is really good. He has a phenomenal chin. He took one of the most powerful shots I've seen in a long time by Marc-Andre Barriault, and he survived, broke his nose, kept up a pace, kept up pressure. He has way too many weapons, and I could see him finishing Mikel Pereira. I think the pressure is really going to give Pereira problems. And the kicking game, the body kicks, the whipping body kicks are going to give Pereira a lot of problems. And I think we see Shara Magomedov either goes to decision 30-27 or we see a KO. I just don't think that Pereira has the will to win anymore. I just don't think he has it in him. And I don't think it's going to be competitive. I think the first round may be competitive. The first 2 minutes and 50 seconds of the first round will be competitive. But I think we see Shara win this one pretty soundly. Moving on to the main event. Manuel Torres versus Rafael Fiziev. This one is hard to pick. Very hard to pick. But I think I'm leaning Manuel Torres by KO. Because it's hard. Because Manuel Torres is not proven against the highest level of competition. And you could say, well, Fiziev is 1-4 in his last 5 fights. But let's see who those losses are to. Rufi, one of the best strikers we've ever seen. Justin Gaethje, the current lightweight championship holder. The man who fraud-checked Elliot Poirier. Mateusz Gamrot, who he snapped his ACL against. And the win is against Ignacio Bahamondes, who knocked the fuck out of Manuel Torres. But styles make matches. And I think Fiziev's taken a lot of damage, and his chin is not there anymore. You saw him get knocked out by Rufi brutally. You saw him get knocked down and almost KO'd by Justin Gaethje. Manuel Torres is not technical. He's not very technical. So Fiziev could keep him at range, could pick him apart on the feet. He really could. Fiziev is still one of the fastest strikers I've ever seen. Has some of the best footwork. The kicking game of Fiziev is deadly. He has power. He could win this. But I think he's too small for Fiziev. And I think if Fiziev lands one punch clean on Fiziev, I think Fiziev gets hurt and gets taken down. And Fiziev loves to implement wrestling into his game. He likes to shoot takedowns near the end of the round to try and secure the round. Manuel Torres has dangerous jiu-jitsu that no one talks about. He has really good submissions, dangerous jiu-jitsu. And I think if he does that, he could, he's liable to get caught in a guillotine or some type of submission switch. And I think the volume's definitely going to be on Fiziev's side. I think the power is definitely on Torres' side. And in this type of fight, I think Fiziev will be winning until he's not. I've said this for the last couple of fights, and every fight I've said this for has been correct. I said it for Diego Lopez versus Steve Garcia. I said it for Kyoji Horiguchi versus Manuel Torres for Manel Cap, and I'm saying it for this one. I think Fiziev's the better striker, arguably the better fighter, and I think he'll be winning this. I think he'll be doing the same thing he was doing to Rufi, and then I think Manuel Torres will unleash a right hand and knock out Fiziev. I think it'll probably be a TKO, and I'm going to go Manuel Torres for the win. If you guys disagree with my picks, please let me know in the comments below. I think I'm going to do horrible on this card, to be honest. This is a very low confident card. I was picking with my heart for the Bruno Ferreira fight and the Charles Johnson fight. But otherwise, I think the breakdown is legitimate. I think a lot of my underdogs are going to hit. But, you never know. So, I'm excited for the card. I'm excited. Can't wait for it. Thank you for watching. Bye.